being here. This is a delight, and I want to thank Jim and all of the folks that extended this invitation. We've had this on the calendar for quite some time, and as you would imagine, within the last week, it's amazing how quickly things can change. I mean, my office has gotten calls from media outlets that haven't called me ever. And one of them is headquartered right there in Atlanta, Georgia. They didn't know I existed until last Thursday night. But I'm delighted to be here, and I'll just tell you that that was quite an experience for me personally, and my team. I have to give credit for helping me to prepare for that, because I had done a couple of debates when I ran for the United States Senate in Georgia, and did okay in those debates, but this was the first nationally televised debate that I had ever done. And many of you recall that going into this particular debate, there was a lot of question as to whether or not it was going to be worthwhile for the top tier potential presidential wannabes. And as a result, many of them made the strategic decision to not participate. Well, I visited with some Fox executives a couple of days ago, and they informed me that that debate with those less than top tier individuals was the highest rated show on Fox during prime time that night, and it beat all of the other cable news stations combined. Not bad for second tier, huh? So I think that those that made a strategic decision not to participate may have made a strategic mistake of not being there. Let it be borne in mind that the tragedy of life does not lie in not reaching your goals. The tragedy lies in having no goals to reach for. It's not a calamity to die with dreams unfulfilled, but it is a calamity to have no dreams. The American dream is under attack. But the good news is we can take it back. The American dream is under attack with a national debt of over $14 trillion. The American dream is under attack with a struggling economy. 15 million people still hoping for a job. Nearly 5 million people underemployed. The American dream is under attack with legislation that's being forced down the throats of the American people. That's not the way the founders intended it. The American dream is under attack with a falling dollar. We are rapidly losing our economic position in the world because of not enough economic growth, too much spending. There was a report released recently. Economists had calculated that if you look at the growth rate of China and compare it to the growth rate of the United States growth rate has been around 2.5% per year for the last 2 to 3 years. China is growing at 10% per year compounded on a much smaller base. And it's already been calculated that in 15 years, on a GDP to GDP basis, their economy will be as big or bigger than the United States of America if we do not get out of this stalled economy. The International Monetary Fund did another analysis that they released a little over a week ago, where they did an analysis to take out the differences in exchange rates and calculated a metric called purchase power parity. And based upon consumer purchase power parity between the Chinese and the American economy, It said that they will overtake us economically in 5 years. Americans don't like being in second place. And the frustrating thing is we don't have to be in second place. Here are 5 things that I believe that we need to do in order to stimulate this economy. Yes, we have a lot of issues. Yes, we have a lot of crises. But if we don't stimulate this economy first, quickly, we won't be able to deal with a lot of the other problems that we have. Number 1, we need to lower the top corporate and personal tax rates in this country. We are the only nation on the planet that has not lowered its top corporate tax rate in the last 15 years. We are second in the world only to Japan by 0.3 percentage points in terms of having the highest corporate tax rate. Because every time someone says we need to lower tax rates, the liberals scare the decision makers off. Instead of explaining to the American people why we need to do it and what the impact is going to be, they get scared off because they don't want to fight the war of words. Well, I got news for you. This is more than a war of words. This is a war for the ultimate survival of this economy and this great nation. We have got to stop being afraid to do what's right. We got to lower the tax rates. I'm going to take that message to the American people. Because I happen to think that if you are blessed enough to have the bullet pulpit, use it for the right reasons. Instead of using it to play the blame game every day, why not use it to inform the American people about why we need to do what we need to do, how we're going to do it, and how is it going to impact this nation, how it's going to impact their lives. Number 2, take the capital gains tax rate to 0 so we can generate some cash for small businesses. Rocket science. I call it common sense solution. Now the liberals obviously are going to come back and say, well, there you go, you want to reward the rich people again by not charging them taxes on their capital gains. Well, you go to the American people and explain to them that people who are investing and making capital gain on their capital, they're taking risks. So you get paid for taking risks. And by the way, to all of the liberals who complain about helping the rich, when was the last time a poor person gave you a job? Not defending the rich. I'm defending common sense. Take it to 0. Number 3, suspend the taxes on repatriated profits. We've got nearly $1 trillion in profits that have been generated by multinational corporations that are in other countries, and they're leaving them there rather than bring it back home and get taxed again. Any smart business person is going to leave the money where it gets taxed the least. And we wonder why a lot of jobs are leaving this nation. Take it to 0. The last time this was done in 2003, under President George Bush, nearly $350 billion came back into the country. Now possibly $1 trillion could come back into our economy. And I love it when a liberal reporter will say, well, Mr. Cain, if you don't tax those foreign profits, then how do we know that those corporations will use it to create jobs? How do we know that they won't just give big bonuses to the executives? Or maybe increase the dividend to the stockholders? Oh my God. Heaven forbid. And my response to them is, it's their money. It's not yours and it's not the government. It's their money. This is a fundamental flaw in liberal thinking, that your money belongs to the government. And as a result, the government should control what you earn and I earn and other people in this country earn. Then the other thing that I would do is provide a real payroll tax holiday, not this piddling 2% that they passed at the end of last year. Provide a full 6.2% payroll tax holiday for every employee and every employer. Imagine giving every worker in America a raise of 6.2% for a year. Now the liberals are going to come back and say, see, I already figured out how they're going to attack it. So this is how what you do is you warn the American people up front. This is how they're going to attack it. Well, we can't afford that 6.2% for the employee and the employer that you're talking about. How are you going to pay for it? Well, it pays for itself. Because you see, when people keep more of their money and they decide what they want to spend it on, or they decide that they want to save it, it helps the economy. When you send it through the government filter of $700 billion and it gets filtered back out, guess what? We learned there's no such thing as shovel-ready projects. We knew that from the beginning. We already knew that. And what's interesting about that 6.2% payroll tax holiday for every worker and every employer-employee is that the amount of money that it would represent in absolute terms is about the same $700 billion that they wasted on the way to $1 trillion that did not work. Let the people keep more of what they earn. Let businesses keep more of what they generate. That's a direct stimulus that would move our economic growth to the level that it is capable of.